Alright, then let's start off with the Cisco Stealthwatch now. Basically, what is Stealthwatch? Stealthwatch is a network visibility solution. So when I say that when there is a network visibility solution, I'm referring to the visibility in the traffic point of view. So now, for example, you have an environment where you have a very large environment or medium size company where you have multiple devices, right, attached to it. So this will be your management plane. Then again, that will be routed towards your inside network. Then again, it will be routed towards your ASA and to the outside network. And again, you do have some segmentation of your servers like DMZ. And again, you do have some other servers which you want to protect and you have attached to the ASA DMZ. Now, in this type of configuration, you see that there are a lot of devices over here where people are sitting over here and they are trying to access many different types of traffics over here. So some of them are going with the administration, going to the management plane. Some of them are going to the visiting their respective servers, or some of them are visiting the very confidential servers in your environment. Now the problem here was that whenever you're getting a traffic, there is a lot of traffic being generated, right? And you want to look into the visibility of that traffic, what is going to be, what's happening over there. So generally, if you have a syslog server, okay, you will get a syslog message, no issues. If you have an SNMP configured, no issues. If there is any networking device interface goes down, you will get an information and you can remotely control that one. And whenever there is a syslog message, you will go ahead and you will reconfigure or you will resolve that issue. That's not a problem with the network. But where the problem is that if someone is being like, for example, this particular employee came in today with his USB and he has plugged into his company's PC, and he doesn't know that it contains a virus. Now he plugged into USB and he's trying to access some of the files in that one, for example, and that files have been that virus has been copied to his PC. From that PC, it has been copied to different networks or devices now. So now in that way, you do not know how to detect that one, right? Even though if you have a many intrusion detection policies and all those things, still it's already inside your network now. So intrusion policy, intrusion detection will be after the ASA. You will be detection system will be implemented over here like a bump in a wire between your network and the ASA where your firewall is located. Now the employee has directly bypassed these many things and he has directly plugged into his system. Now the virus is inside your network and you do not know who has infected that one and how it started infecting. So this can happen. It's a typically everyone can make a mistake. Now that's where the network visibility Stealthwatch comes into play now. Now, whenever the PC is being infected and the traffic starts generating and the particular virus starts behaving accordingly, so whenever there is you will be capturing the traffic and you will sending to the Stealthwatch of your premises. So once you send it to the Stealthwatch will analyze that traffic. And now, once it analyzes and detects it, it might be a little late because it is not, what do we say, like instantly. So whenever there is a traffic or a virus in your network, you are not able to detect it instantly. It will take time. It might be it can range between 5 to 1 hour time for Stealthwatch to realize that it has been like infected. The virus has been infected to the network. But the good thing is that even though the virus has been infected, as soon as it detects, it will automatically isolate. By default, there are policies already being configured. You have to nothing to worry. By default, there are policies being created. It will automatically isolate these species who are infected. And it will give you an overview that, okay, so and so PCs have, or so and so network devices have been infected. So this is the visibility and this is the power of your Stealthwatch. But the only issue over here is that it might take time to detect those traffic over here generated. So again, When I say that it's a network visibility solution, there are another solutions in your market. So let me, okay, so there are different solutions in your market. For example, if you look at your policies, okay, so this is another solution which will also do the scanning like what the Stealthwatch is doing, but it does not take any action, but it will do the remediation. But whereas the Stealthwatch will do the scanning, plus it will take the action, but it does not do any remediation.
What
Now,
do you mean remediation?
yeah, that's why I'm coming to that one. So now, what do I mean by remediation now? As I said that my network is being infected now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
My network is being infected. So whenever the policy is being, when there are certain policies implemented, that policies will be like the traffic will be sent to the policies for analyzation. When the policies realize that okay, your network is being infected, it will go ahead and it will remediate by saying that okay, you are now infected. I want to remove the virus from your system now. So Qualys has those capabilities of removing, making, doing the remediation means resolving the issue. But it does not take any action. That means if there are multiple PCs or multiple devices have been detected, that means Qualys has to look into it individually. Now the problem here is that if it started looking individually now, it will resolve one it will resolve one PC, it will go to another PC, but until then again it will be copied over here. Correct? The virus. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what the but it does has a remediation power. So if you isolate this one and started remediating one by one, then that's a solution that it's you're totally eradicating your virus. But Qualys does not have that solution in it. But Stealthwatch has that one. Stealthwatch, what it can do is that it can scan. Okay, it will detect. Okay, there is a virus, so I have to make it isolated. It will make that PC as isolated automatically. Once it makes an isolated, it will you will get an alarms. Or if you have set up your emails, you will get an email saying that okay, virus has been detected. So once that has been detected, you can go ahead and do it remediation manually. Or what you can do is that if you are implementing the Cisco ICE in your environment, then you can go ahead and configure your threat-centric NAC solution. So which requires like ICE integrating with maybe with Rapid7 or maybe with Qualys and do the remediation process. So we will come back to that one later on. For now, these are the different solutions you can interact like integrate with the
So
other.
ICE can integrate with Stealthwatch.
Yes, we are going to look into that one also. That is a
Good.
different scenario where we are going to integrate the Stealthwatch with ICE, and there are certain different products. Like when we come to PX Grid solution at the end of this series, end of this class, you will
Mm-hmm.
know that what kind of actual solution which we are implementing, how to automatically detect that one. That means using the ANC policy, how to integrate with the, sorry, using the PX grid, how to integrate the ICE, and after that using the ANC policy, how to detect and isolate the PC. After isolating the PC, how to use your tech-centric NAC solution to remediate that remediate that PC. So it's a different process. We will look into that one when we come to the PX grid one, but not now.
Okay.
Now we are just only looking into the introduction where we do have a different products, how they can be integrated and how you can utilize those products in the market. So scanning, Stealthwatch is the scanning. It can take action, but it cannot do any remediation. But Qualys can do the scanning and can do the remediation, but can't take any action. But as far as my knowledge, I think it cannot take any action. But in future, they might like implement those things also. Now let's move forward with that one. What do you mean by like Stealthwatch? It's collects the telemetry. So telemetry refers to the collecting traffic data.
Mm-hmm.
So collecting the traffic data and sending to the Stealthwatch solution to analyze what's going in your network and detect the alarms and do the policy assessment automatically and provide you a chart, output chart that, okay, this is what is going in your network and this is what the problem. And it will also show you the network visibility. That means any PC which is visiting the different country website, it will show you that in that network visibility chart. Okay, so your PCE has visited to so and so country for so and so data, how much of data has been communicated between those countries. Right. Next,
Mm-hmm.
it creates a baseline for the normal web and network activity. So basically, when you implement your Stealthwatch, once you install and everything is being pre-configured, that is like by default configuration, what you require for your Stealthwatch configuration. Once you have done that one, by default, there are certain policies have been automatically applied to certain groups of hosts, certain groups of your network devices, and all those things. You need not worry, but it has already drawn a baseline. Cisco has provided you with the default policies, default baselines, and everything configured for you. And apart from that, if you required more, you can go ahead and create your own custom policies and baselines. We will see into that one. Now, coming to the Stealthwatch components, they are like the different components, but most importantly, there is a Stealthwatch management console. So what this management console, you can look at this one as a perspective of an application. You can say this is an application which will provide you the graphical user interface.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, whatever you want to see, whatever the charts you want to see, whatever the traffic you are going to see, everything you will be seeing in this management console. So basically, this is your graphical user interface. So it will show you only the data which is being collected by different components and provide you an overview, and it will also help you to do the configuration over here. So it will do the configuration. You will define your policies over here. You will define your baselines, everything over here. You will define your host group, and automatically this will push it to the different components of your Stealthwatch solution. So this is the one part which you require compulsory. Another part is the net flow collector. Now this is the very main component of your Stealthwatch. If you do not have a net flow collector, there is no use of your Stealthwatch solution. The reason is that whatever the traffic your network devices are generating, routers, ASAs, and everything, right? Everything the traffic will be sent it to net flow collector. So this is the main guy who is going to collect the data, who is going to analyze the data, and who is going to filter the data. Once it filters the data, it is going to send it to Stealthwatch management console saying that, okay, I got this much of traffic and I have analyzed this much of traffic and I have differentiated filtered the traffic according to their type of traffic like HTTPS, HTTP, Telnet, Ping. I have differentiated the traffic, and it will provide all the information to your Stealthwatch management console. And that's where you are able to see your graphical charts in your Stealthwatch management console. So this is the main guy. If you do not have this one, there is no use of your Stealthwatch solution. Now, you do have an optional components. Those are known as flow sensors and UDP. So when I refer to the flow sensors now, so when I say I want to refer to the flow sensor, now flow collector works on layer 3. Okay, there is no problem for the layer 3. Whenever the traffic is moving on the layer 3, you're good and fine. But what about when you are going with layer 2 now? So that's where your flow sensor comes into play. So flow sensor also has an IP address. It also works on to layer 3, but the only capability of flow sensor is that it will collect the layer 2 data, and it will also send it to net flow collector. So there is a switch now. This is an L2 switch, which does not have any you cannot create any SVIs. Only you can go forward the L2 traffic, just like a plug and play. But you can do some configuration on that one, like scanning the ports, spanning the ports, monitoring the ports. That's the only capability it has. has like monitoring the ports. Now here you will connect your flow sensor to this port, for example E0/1, and again these are your networks which are connected over here. Now these networks can be on a with different VLANs,
Mm-hmm.
maybe VLAN 2, VLAN 3, maybe VLAN 10, but on this port my flow sensor is available on VLAN 100. So what I can do now here is that in this type of situation, I can collect the data from VLAN 2, VLAN 3, VLAN 10 by using the span configuration or rspan configuration. So span configuration is that I am just taking the data of your VLANs or interfaces, and I'm just taking these interfaces or VLANs data and dumping into this particular port where my flow sensor is located. That's it. I'm doing nothing. And with the remote span is also the same thing. You're taking multiple VLANs and interface ports, and if you have multiple switches connected, you are just taking some of the all the data of your VLANs and interfaces, all the data, and you will be dumping that all the data into a particular VLAN. And these VLANs are situated in all of your switches in your network. That means all the switches will get the details of that particular monitoring of that data. For example, you do have one switch, two switch, and three Cs. These are connected to each other, but there is also one another switch. Now my flow sensor is over here, but I want to monitor the PC which is here. So what I can do is that this is located on the VLAN number 2, but my flow sensor is located on VLAN 100, but in a different switch. So what I can do, all the switches have been synchronized with the VLANs. So it's better to what I can do is that I can use the span. I can just take the traffic of that particular VLAN 2 and dump it in the VLAN 100. So that the configuration, that data will be almost all the switch will get the data, and when it reaches to the flow sensor will receive your that particular monitoring of your data. So once it receives now, its job is to forward it to the net flow collector. Its job is to forward it to the net flow collector. So once it forwards it to the net flow collector, now this is where you know that it's going to analyze the traffic, it is going to filter the traffic, it is going to check the traffic and all those things, and the policy management and everything. So once it checks the data and everything, and it will forward it to the Stealthwatch management console, which is where you will be looking at the graphs and the different components of your Stealthwatch solution, and you will look at your alarms, you will look what policies have been violated and everything, and you will get an overview of what's happening in your network. So that's how these components works. Now there is another component which is the UDP director.
Oh, quick question.
Yes, please.
The net.
Now let's look at the another component, that is UDP director. Now you do have a problem over here by saying that, okay, you cannot configure multiple net flow configuration. Like for a router, you can only configure up to 2 net flow collectors. Now, what if you have multiple net flow collectors, like not the Cisco ones, but the different ones? For example, you do have a Kiwi, what do we say, like monitoring system, or you do have the Cisco Stealthwatch, and also there might be, they are very different products like Splunk. Now, what I want is that I am for Cisco, I am using a Stealthwatch, but that's good and fine. But I do have the Kiwi also in my environment. I do have a Splunk, which are providing me with a license. I do have a license where they say that if you want to analyze your traffic, you can analyze using the Splunk, using the Kiwi, that is SolarWinds. Now there is a problem here, because if there is a router over here, I can configure for Stealthwatch, or I can configure with the Kiwi or this one, any one of them, right? But I cannot give it to everyone. So that's where the US UDP director comes into play. Now, what does this UDP director will do is that it will collect all the data from multiple sources of devices, like networking devices, switches, ASAs, whatever it might be, collecting the data from multiple network devices where you have configured your net flow configuration. and it has a capability to replicate all the data to your all the sensors. Now it has a capability of replicating your data to all the solutions, flow monitoring solutions. So now what's happening in this solution with the UDP director is that instead of configuring multiple net flow configuration on my router, switches and ASA, I will just say to my router, okay, whatever the traffic you're getting, just go ahead. All right, whatever the traffic you are getting, just go ahead and provide it to all the solution. Yes, coming to the UDP director, yes, the Cisco also provide this UDP director for you, software for you. It's an application. So now this, I don't think so. This is a physically hardware provided. It might be like virtually provided for you. I think there is also an hardware for it, but virtually is much better that you will save money in that one. So now the UDP director will collect the data from all of them. Now I have to configure only one NetFlow collector, that is everyone is sending to the UDP director, and UDP director is making a replication and sending to each and every one. So that's where you will use the UDP director. But if you are solely going for Stealthwatch, you do not require this one. Now there is one more option, that is cognitive threat analysis, CTA. So what does this CTA do now? Now you have to be very careful using the CTA now, because with the CTA you are enabling you are accepting the term saying that whatever the traffic your network is generating, you are forwarding the traffic to the cloud-based solution of Cisco, which is located in Ireland. So
Mm.
what this that CTA do is that it will also do the same thing, do the analyze, and it will let you know that after analyzation, what's the, if there is any, if they have found any virus, any issues, they can provide you with the information. It's the same thing, but it will be done in the cloud, but it's like an advanced analysis. So it's an advanced analysis.
Is that part of Stealthwatch too?
It's a part of a solution, but if you want to utilize this one, first thing you have to make sure that you have to understand that your data, whatever you're collecting locally, that will be sent to different country for Cisco to analyze that one.
Mm.
Another thing is that
Acknowledge.
it's like an advanced analysis, so they will go ahead very deep into that traffic, which your Stealthwatch might miss, and they might have some information. So it's like if the Stealthwatch for a certain virus, it does not have any signature in that particular in its database, it's not going to detect. But for example, if you have already as like subscribed to the CTA solution and you forwarded all the traffic to the CTA cloud, now over there they have recently this, like they have just detected, and you send the traffic with the same behavior. So that's why they will just reply to the Salesforce saying that, Mike, we have already detected that one, so you have to implement this. This is the signature. Just store it into your database, and once it has been detected, it will email you. The Salesforce will email you saying that this is an high priority because we have detected the virus. So that's the CTA solution. Well, I don't think so. You need a requirement to like subscription for that one. You just need to enable it. But the only problem with that one is that they are providing free, I think, because the traffic has to be sent to a different country, which you have to understand what is the risk for that one.
Yeah, that's not good.
Now, proxy ingestion, endpoint license, threat feed the license. Now, proxy means if you have any proxy implemented in your network. For example, you have your network over here, you configure your router, you have a WSA configure, which is acting as a proxy server, and this is your ASA, this is going to your network. Now, proxy means whenever the traffic wants to go to google.com, the endpoint will send the traffic over here and the router will automatically forward the traffic to WSA. But WSA will be communicating on behalf of your internal PC. That's the proxy. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have any proxy installed in your network, you have to let Stealthwatch know that there is a proxy server located in your network, so that it's gonna look in a different way now. So whenever there is a proxy server located, okay, Stealthwatch will now try to detect, okay, whether it's a proxy traffic or not, because WSA in between. So look at an organization where you have a PC going to the google.com, but there is a WSA in between and there is a internet. So internet does not know who is actually communicated. Internet will know that, okay, WSA is communicated. So similarly, if you provide information to the Stealthwatch saying that, okay, WSA is your proxy server, it will get the data from the WSA. Okay, it will see that, okay, this PC was talking to WSA and WSA was talking to google.com on behalf of that PC, and it will detect, and it helps the Stealthwatch to make a decision that this was the PC which was compromised with the proxy injection. Next, another endpoints license. Again, I think this one is the a small application for the endpoints where you will install in your company's PCs, so that every minute the data will be collected and send it to the Stealthwatch to analyze the data. It's just a small application. Coming to the threat center, threat feed license. Threat feed license feed powered by Cisco Talos. So Cisco Talos is another organization which specialize in detecting the viruses, detecting the attacks, and all those things. So if you have a subscription for that one, you can just connect to with the Talos also to get the updated information about the attacks and updated signatures of your viruses. All right, so that was your Stealthwatch now. Another thing you have to be careful with using the Stealthwatch is your requirements. Now this is very important now, requirements. If you do not provide particular requirements to the Stealthwatch, then you will be ended up consuming all the data, and you don't want that one. So whenever I say the requirements, then the first thing comes into play is your design. Very important, because once you define perfectly your design is perfect, or your design is good enough, then only your communication with the Stealthwatch will be good. And your requirements, you know that what are the requirements, what are the different licenses you have to purchase, you will get an idea about that one. Now whenever I'm talking about the designs with the Stealthwatch, if you are using 7.3.2 version or below this one, the Stealthwatch SMC, it has its own data store. If you have a flow collector, it will have its own data store. If you have multiple flow collectors will have their individual data stores. So this is the design if you are using 7.3.2 and lower version of your Stealthwatch. But here if you
The
see that,
flow collector is a physical device.
yeah, there is a physical as well as virtual available for everyone. So Stealthwatch management console, physical and virtual, NetFlow collector, physical and virtual, flow sensor, physical and virtual, all of them are available. I think UDPD is also available. All of them are available in hardware as well as virtual. Now, if you see that, what's happening over here in this design is that every flow collector is having its own data store. Now, for example, if I have a router and I do have a flow collector over here and do have a flow collector, I do have a two flow collectors in my network, and router is forwarding traffic to both of them, the same traffic. Both of them are going to analyze the same traffic, and both of them are going to provide the same details to your Stealthwatch management console. So what's happening here is that duplication of your traffic, correct?
Yeah, but that's a bad design. You are not supposed to connect two flow collector with the same router.
Yeah, but you want to do the like a load balancing over here. So before this version, it was not like perfectly. They did not design it, the Cisco Stealthwatch. So they have upgraded in that one in the 7.4 version to remove this issue now, because both of them are doing the same thing and both of them are utilizing the same uCPU. It's like they're not getting any benefits for installing multiple flow collectors. It's only that if it's too busy, then this flow collector will go ahead and it will analyze the new data instead of analyzing the old data. But this was a problem which Cisco has resolved in 7.4. The design perspective is little different now. Now in 7.4, what Cisco did was there was a Stealthwatch console with its own data store, no problem. There is a flow collector with its own data store. Now what they did was they had a centralized data store now. In 7.4 now, you need to have a centralized data store. It's a different server now, entirely different servers only used for storage. Now what's happening is that when the flow collectors are getting all the traffic data, right? What they do is that they temporarily save in their data store, but once they forward it to their centralized data store, they will just delete the data from their own data store. So what's happening now is that everyone is sending their traffic to their centralized data store. Now this centralized data store is also, there is something we call that one. So let me have a look. What did they call, like we do call something for that data store. Let me find that one for you. So it is called network analytics data store. If you are looking for a virtual, like for a physical, then it's a data store. If you are looking for a virtual, it's a virtual data store. So now what they are doing is that they are forwarding traffic to whom now? Network analytic data store now. So once they forward all the data, for example, all of them have received the same type of traffic and all of them are forwarding to the data store, network analysis data store now. What does this network data analysis data store will do is that it will check what is the duplication of the traffic and it will remove that duplication and it will only send the traffic which is been, it will remove all the duplication and it will send only one traffic. Like if you have the same traffic coming 10 times, it will remove the nine times the traffic and it will just only send the particular traffic as one traffic only. It's like a unique traffic now. Okay, so now there is no duplication or deduplication of your packets and of your network, and it just the data store is sending a unique traffic to your Stealthwatch management console. So now this is the design perspective of 7.4 version. So whenever if you in your production environment, if they are using 7.4, you have to make sure that you install the network analysis data store. If you do not install this one, your flow collectors are not able to communicate or connect to your Stealthwatch solution.
So 7.4 and higher.
Sorry, 7.4?
And higher require?
Yes, 7.4 and higher now. But you only have like 7.4 to something for now.
So you have to install what?
You have to install network analysis data store if you are using 7.4 version, compulsory. This is one extra device you have to install when you are using 7.4. Because all the NetFlow collectors are going to report to this one now. Instead of directly reporting to the NetFlow collector in 7.3, they are now going to report it to your data store, network analysis data store, which is going to do some remove the deduplication of your traffic and send the traffic as a unique traffic to your Stealthwatch management console.
Does the NetFlow sensor have data store?
NetFlow collector data store. Yes, everyone has a data store, has their own data store. Because temporarily they have to store the data, they have to analyze the data, and they have to scan the data, analyze the data, and filter the data,
no,
right?
I'm talking about the flow sensor.
Yeah, flow sensor also has their own data store. Yes.
So now the flow sensor will also send
traffic to your flow sensor will always send the traffic to flow collectors.
Okay. All right. That's what I want to find out. Okay.
Yeah, hierarchy is that SMC will receive the traffic from the network analysis data store. Network data analysis data store will receive the traffic from flow collectors, but the flow sensor will send the traffic to the flow collectors, not to the data store. All right, so now let's look at the, if you are going with the virtualization, then you do have certain requirements for your Stealthwatch. So if you are going with the Stealthwatch management console with only one flow collector, okay, let me go with a different one, not a wide one. So if you are going with only one net flow collector, then you should have your 3 CPUs reserved and 16 GB of RAM is preferred. At least minimum 16 GB, but if you see that recommended is 24 GB. And the disk space is 100 GB. That is not true. You at least need 300 GB of hard disk, at least minimum. Now, this is for the, if you have in your network, if you have any data which is less than 10,000 users. So less than 10,000 users who are going to generate the traffic, this is where you will be using your this requirements. Similarly, according to your users and according to the flows, the Stealthwatch management console will increase that requirements. So highest is the 64 GB of RAM, 200 GB of data. That's not true. I think until you implement this one, it will be coming up to 1 TB of data stored for your Stealthwatch management console. Now
So
with the
the
flows,
okay, the highest is 2,000, greater than
uh,
2,000 users.
storage is not the highest like 2000 users. It says that 2000 and greater than.
So if I have 30,000 users,
Yeah, you can implement multiple Stealthwatch management console, or you can go ahead with the 64 GB. So this is
this is
old requirements for, I think these are for the 7.1 version, but not for the 7.4. So I did
okay.
not get any time to look into that one. So I do have the old one. So that's what I'm providing to
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense if I have to get
you.
two set what management console for
Yes.
companies that have like 50,000 users.
Yeah, we do have those requirements are a little different.
Yeah, it's good. Hmm.
Now let's look at the flow collector now. Flow collector totally depends upon your flows per second, how much traffic you are generating per second. So if you say that you see that flows per second over here, if your flows per second is 4500, that's definitely it will not be true for any of your organization. So you can go ahead with this requirement. So it depends upon the flow, how much flow you are generating per second. So accordingly, you have to select your flow sensor requirement for virtual environment. But again, if you're going with the physical, it all depends upon your license now, because it's a physical hardware. So you have to still be definitely. I am sure that they are going to have an 8-core CPU, physical 8-core CPU in that one. So when you look at these reserved PCs, so you will have 8 physical plus 8 virtual, total 16 virtual CPUs. That should be more than enough for a flow collector to go up with the highest one. And again, once you go with the highest one, you require in the physical device, you require the license for that one. But in the virtual, you need to entirely deploy a new flow sensor, flow collector for that one. So you have to very careful when you're deploying your flow collectors in the virtual environment, because it's totally depend upon your flows per second. Next, the flow sensor. Flow sensor doesn't take much. You see that it requirements are very low when compared to the flow collectors and the flow Stealthwatch management console, because this one is only is going to collect the data, but it's not going to analyze the data, but it's after collecting the data and it will just forward it to the Stealthwatch management, sorry, flow collector. So these are the requirements. So you can now always whenever you are looking at the requirements, do check out the data sheet of the latest version what you are going to use. Always check the data sheet. So what there you will have more information about what's the requirement, what should be your business what is might be your according to a different business designs, what Cisco will recommend. This is the configuration you need to have in your environment. Now coming to your data store now. So data stores have some rules now. So if your data store, this one data store, you can implement one or three. You cannot implement two, four, even numbers. So you can implement one, then again three or six or nine, multiple of three. Okay. And now whenever you are having three, that becomes one cluster. So if you have a NADS, this is one, NADS 2 and NADS 3. So these become one cluster. Then again, you do have one more cluster with NADS 1, NADS, sorry, 4, 5, and 6. So this becomes a separate cluster. So you can have a cluster of data stores in this way. And again, once you're having 1, 3, 6, and 9, this is a requirement for your cluster. Coming to the storage, if this one is a 300 gigabytes, everyone should be 300 gigabytes, exactly the same. So if they have 1 TB of data store over here, everyone should have 1 TB of data store over here. So everyone should have the same like almost identical configuration. Now with the data store also, I think there is something else which I want to tell you. Yeah, with the data store, always when you are installing the data store, you should have at least two NICs. So one NIC will be trying to communicate with your network, and another NIC will be trying to communicate with your data stores. That is network analysis data stores within your cluster.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one basically use the 169 address. If you know that that's the private address when you look at
Local.
Windows one. So always it will use that 169 address. So you have to provide a IP address for your data store within that IP address itself. That's what the Cisco recommend. But if you like, if you want to change it, you can change it. You are most welcome to do that one. All right, so let's move forward now. So it's just a network use case in this one where all the, as I said, that multiple flow like multiple devices, network devices can send the traffic to your flow collector. But the thing is that if you have multiple flow monitoring system in place, then you make sure that all the devices are sending to the UDP director instead of sending to the flow collector. We already discussed this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
so that was your introduction to your Stealthwatch. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask now.